Hey everyone, Dr. David Wank here again from Short Hills Design, and I wanted to take some time today to talk about our Google My Business service, really Google Business Profile. It's what Google changed the name to, and I want to show you how we set the example because we do everything based on the data. So one of the things, whether you work with us or any other marketing company, one of the things that you should demand is that you get to see your data and that you get to interpret your data and that you want to be able to make business decisions based on that data. So in our Google My Business service, we generally run it for a 6-month term. And you can see here, this was a client who had a brand new website. And so obviously we had no real Google My Business work going on here in these months, but here are the months that we started our Google My Business service. So month 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you can see once we kind of got into month 3, even 4, 5, and 6, we're getting pretty consistent results. And so sometimes with Google My Business, we find that once you sort of get this proverbial ball rolling, it rolls and we don't have to do anything more. You could always spend more money, right? So we get the ball rolling. And what we like to do is pause after month 6, because by that time we've usually finished all of your citation building. Obviously, we have other places we can build citations from. We can produce, we can generate links for you and things like that. But most importantly, we want to make sure that we've gotten your NAP and all of that taken care of, which does take around 6 months, sometimes more, depending on the complexity, and obviously correct any incorrect listings. And obviously we're posting. And so with all those things going on, what you're going to see is that hopefully we're going to have a trajectory that's going to go higher or just keep going. In this case, like we do for every client, we pause after that 6 month. Unless we're doing so well that we just want to keep it running, we certainly can do that. But because we want to have full transparency and be honest and make sure that you or our clients are paying for services that they're getting value from, what we do is we pause it usually after the 6 month, or often. And we can see here now, this is the 6 month and we paused, and there is clearly a drop off, which suggests to us that obviously the work that we're doing is working. And so if we take a look over here, you can see this is in October, 109 website clicks, and that decreased down to 60. Here's website clicks and website clicks in November without the service. And then if we look at the phone calls, which is the most important thing to us, clicks are obviously very, very important. You want to drive traffic to your website and build awareness. But ultimately, phone calls are what matters. Getting that phone ringing is what matters to us the most. And so there's a 38% decrease in phone calls. And so the question becomes now, obviously, this is not a question that I can answer for you or the client. I mean, I know my clients, but it's a question that you've got to be able to answer on your own and say, we had a 38% decrease in phone calls, and what is the value really of these phone calls to us? If you're finding that the phone calls that you're getting are, and we hope this doesn't happen, are not appropriate for the practice and that you're not converting them into new patients because they're just not the patients that you want to work with or the patients that are appropriate for your office or your target demographic, then this might not be something that you want to do or to keep going with. However, a 38% decrease in phone calls is pretty significant. And so one of the things I always stress is for clients and for everybody to understand what is the value of a new patient, and if you are, out of the dental field, if you're, an attorney or any other business for that matter, what is the value of a new lead? Now, obviously lifetime value is a great number to look at for, a new client, new patient, not a new lead, but a value for a new client. And sometimes it's very hard to say over the course of 10 years what a new patient is worth. Let's say you have a patient come in and you do the bulk of their work in the first year or the first year and a half, and hopefully they won't need extensive care, for the next 10 years or 15 years. So one of the easier things to do is to look in your practice management system and say, what is the value of this patient over the course of a year? And you can do calculations and see what is the value of a patient over the course of a year. And if you know that a new patient brings in X dollars worth of revenue for you in the course of a year, now you can calculate what you're comfortable spending for a new patient. Many offices will be comfortable spending $50 for a new patient or $70 for a new patient. But if you're doing all on 4, you might want to spend $500 on all on 4 to get a new patient if you're generating $25,000 in gross revenue from that patient. So the biggest point I want to make here is that we worry about evidence-based dentistry And at Short Hills Design, and obviously I'm a dentist too, I worry about evidence-based dentistry, but I carry that over and I worry about evidence-based data, evidence-based marketing. And what we're seeing here is that we revved up the Google My Business, Google Business Profile for this client, and when we gave it the pause to kind of have the independent auditor of the world of the internet see if we're providing value, the answer here is yes. And so ultimately the numbers say this is providing value. Now, you've got to look though at the, deep into the data here and see with these clicks and with these calls, are these calls generating revenue? And that's really the next question. So we say, yes, we had a drop off. And then two, we know we had a drop off. And now is this drop off something that cost us money? Or is this drop off something that kind of is not relevant to our practice? And they were, telemarketers anyway, so it doesn't matter. So whenever you're making business decisions, look at accurate data. And then once you have the data, think about what that data means and what that data means in terms of how it affects your practice or your business and how that helps you to generate revenue. Because again, a loss of this many phone calls might not be relevant if they're all telemarketers, but if 3 or 4 of these calls are new patients and we know you're generating, $1,000 a year for that new patient, then you certainly do want to keep this up based on what it costs to run it. And obviously, what is the cost of running the service versus how much money do we make from the service? We want to make sure that you're generating more income from the service, obviously, than you're paying for the service itself. So hopefully that was helpful. If you want to learn more about our Google My Business service, you can navigate to this URL down here on the left, or just head to shorthillsdesign.com. And on the top, you'll see a link to Google My Business local SEO.